Hi, Dave UHRICH here. Today I'm going to talk about the legato technique, hammer-ons and pull-offs, and playing with a flowing legato type style. All right, play some things that we're going to be discussing. I'm going to put them in some various orders, here we go. So legato technique is when you're playing like one note, pick one or two notes, and then there's a bunch of notes that follow in rapid succession. So like this. That kind of stuff. For starters, what was that kind of thing we're doing? This requires that you have an understanding a little bit of the key of C major. I'm going to be using the C major scale. Naturally, of course, this can be done in any key and actually technically with any scale that you wish to do. But basically what we're going to do is the C major scale. If you don't know it, it's 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, rather 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. The notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, so forth. It's all of the C major notes. Now, if you notice, I'm playing this vertically on 3 notes per string. Now, but what we're doing here, and I'll give you an example. This will be example number 1. Where on each string you're going to pick once, and you play the notes up the scale and down the scale. C, D, E, D, C, D, E. Notice I pick. So, then each string will do the same thing. So F, G, A. So you can see how like just those first 2 strings, it sounds very cool. Now what makes it sound sort of neat and kind of cool here, and it's hard to play with a metronome, is it's an odd number of notes. In this case there's 5. In this case there's 7 when we ascend. When we don't, we turn around, we'll do 5 like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 notes. Next string. 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm picking only 1 time for each string. And actually, as I go upwards, you notice I'm using a picking technique where I start using an upstroke. I think it's really important to talk about a basic picking here called outside picking, especially if you're not going to be alternate picking. Okay, and I'm not going to get into great detail what outside picking is, other than to show you for this video, we're going to ascend to the next string, starting using an upstroke. So the first one's not as important because you're just starting. Then up, 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 up. So down, up, up. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Now if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm taking this pattern, we call it pattern number 1, 7 notes of it, and you're going to shift on each string vertically. Now, if you notice though, when people are playing legato, they're playing a lot of what I call horizontal. So in a guitaristic sort of way, this kind of motion up and down the strings while staying in a similar position, I call that movement vertical movement. Okay? Whereas when I start moving up and down the neck like this, I call that horizontal movement. Horizontal, meaning like the horizon, left and right. Okay? So usually single string technique also legato. So I'm going to show you a pattern here. It's a 5-note pattern. If you start on, say, doesn't matter where. I'll just use 2 of these. 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, which is C, D, E, D, C. So it's 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you shift, moving. Sorry, a lot of muting there. in this case, horizontally. And as like I said before, this pattern is also an odd number notes. Now 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for the case of argument, all I'm doing is staying in the key of C major. C, D, E, D, C, shift, B, C, D, C, B, shift, A, B, C, B, A, shift the opposite, back to 1, 1, 1. Now if you notice I'm doing the shifting with my index finger, or first finger. Now theoretically it's possible, and you can do shifting with your pinky, okay? But I'm going to start with showing you shifting from your index finger, meaning your first finger, for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, at certain speeds, that sounds really quite similar. Sounds the same as okay? But also, the first and index finger is a little bit stronger finger. You could shift with any finger, an individual finger, an outer finger. Sometimes people will say, I want you to shift when you're going upwards to use the highest finger. In other words, you run out of fingers, and then you would shift. You can do that. Nothing wrong with that. We'll talk about those in some different videos. But for this video, I'm just going to be shifting with my first finger. So this is horizontal shifting. Now what I did there is vertical and horizontal shifting, right? So let's take a real quick look at some of these and give you some exercises. Vertical shifting and horizontal shifting. So vertical shifting is where you take a 3-note string, up, 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 down, 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 down. And here's from the top, you've got some choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 2 extra notes. And you can do it with 5 notes, 7 notes, or 9 notes when you start to shift. And that's kind of the cool thing as you start shifting, what makes it sort of lyrical and melodic when improvising, because it's not 4s, 3s, 6s, which are numbers which are more intuitive and easier to kind of block or to hear in patterns. 5s and 7s and 9s are not as easy. They're a little more alienating. So pattern number would be like this. So that sounds really cool and ripping and really fast, but it doesn't have the same sort of technical difficulties that you would expect with alternate picking. You know, where you're going to coordinate your right and left hand together. So I'm going to slow that down. Up. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Down. 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 So, it's very easy to start building real cool speed using these, all right? So, does that make sense? Now, number 1. Now, when you get to the top string, because we're going to be going back down, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So what does that mean? Where you go up that little 3-note pattern and down, leaving 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? We can do it twice. Then you're going. So that really quick quick with the 5 on top. Here's with 7, with the 9 on top. So, I mean, it's a kind of maybe slight variation there, but needless to say, I think that's a very, very quick way to start to develop speed in a very lyric way. Now, so that was, of course, vertical shifting, okay? And that'll be tabbed out for you too as well. So we'll talk about that. Now, in terms of moving them horizontally, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Direction with these. Up, down, 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 up, down, and so forth and so that. So these kinds of patterns are all going to be based, in this case, diatonically. See, I put them together. This original leg, number 1, down, up, right. Now, the real problem with hammer-ons and pull-offs comes when we start switching them, okay, and that's why I call them shifting or switching, horizontal shifting, vertical shifting, or vertical switching, or vertical shifting, whatever you want to call horizontal shifting. So, when we get across strings, I'm going to talk about this picking now. The picking here, I call outside picking, because if you want to find out what inside and outside picking is, a real quick way is to try to play the low E string ones and the high E string ones, and alternate that down, like that, pick ones, pick ones, pick ones. So without doing your fingers, I'm going to do this without giving it away. Okay, so if you're at home right now, I'm going to give you just a moment to do it. Pause. There you go. So, pause it. So you'll find that if you're doing this and trying to build speed, you will be using a downstroke and an upstroke. Okay, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, up, down. Any other way to do this runs into some serious difficulties and some problems. Why? If you try down, 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 right here on this top string, oh my God, you feel, ugh. If you go too fast, you might overshoot it, or even worse, you kind of play other strings on the way down. If you do up, 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 now the difficulty shifts from the high string to down here. And the same problem occurs. Up, darn it. You missed it. Darn it. I hit 2 of them. Now I'm exaggerating and trying to be a little comical, but it doesn't work. It's very difficult. And the worst possible thing is sort of like a downstroke and an upstroke. Okay, this doesn't work. Why? Because that motion requires that to do what we movements which are inside the strings. You get a kind of down pick, right? And then when we hit the string, am I going to do, then the problem is here, and then here. When you outside pick, meaning downstroke, like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, means you're switching from the outsides of the strings. Okay? Now that's true. That's true when you have the farthest strings on your, 6th and 1st strings. But it's also true between 2 strings. Okay? So in legato technique, in playing hammer-ons and pull-offs, okay, I think the best thing to do is to start thinking in terms of playing using, in this case, outside picking. So I've got 3 licks here that I want you to kind of do to get used to doing this, okay? And for the purpose of argument, we're going to start with a downstroke, which is sort of maybe uncomfortable for some of you. But this is going to be lick number 1. Up, and then it's down. for a lot of you, maybe that sounds maybe even unattainable, but rest assured it's not unattainable. I've seen people make incredible strides as a teacher once their technique is set on a course that's going to make it easier for them. Most of the problems we have in music, the difficulties, in my opinion, come from sometimes just our own selves trying to do things in a funny or ineffective way, okay? You won't hear me in lessons say the words right and wrong very often. I would much prefer the words functional versus dysfunctional. So to me, when doing a legato technique, it's much more functional to use outside movements as opposed to inside movements, okay? And so inside movements can sometimes be, good for certain other things, but in my opinion, it's dysfunctional for this, okay? Once you cure some of that, you'll find that your course is now set for a much better way. So, lick number one for this, inside and outside picking, all right? In this case, outside movement, up, hammer, pull, pull, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now when you're practicing this lick, I don't want you to go, pause, pause. So there's a pause. Now as you get going, it's almost like this note is a down. So if you think of this as the starting spot, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, back, pick it, pick it, pick it, pick it, pick it. See, speed can be really sort of easy to develop. Now, picking. The next one I want you to do is when we switch to a lower string where you pick only one note on the top string and the rest of the notes are on the B string. So this is an upstroke and then down, pull, down, hammer, hammer, up, down, pull, pull, hammer, hammer, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Next, those two back to back. That is lick number two at a high speed. Now, the beautiful part about these is they link up really easy. And I think that's going to improve your playing immensely. So, here you go for just a slight bit of review. The first one we did. This would be legato technique, and then I'll call it lick number two. Okay. Here's with switching strings. Sorry, that one was down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. The next one. overview of those. I'm going to give you a little, give you some time to kind of go through and check some of those out on your own. Each of these little things, little short clips, we're going to do as separate videos too. But this is kind of an explanation and an overview of legato picking. So, all right, Dave, you're out. Hope you enjoyed.